Hello friends, Namaste. I'm Sweeti Jamgare. I'm the faculty member of Rama University of Applied Sciences. I have done my PhD in the Faculty of Hospitality Management and Catering Technology from RTMNU. I have taught travel and tourism management for a couple of years, and I found this course very interesting for anyone to understand how people started traveling, how the entire phenomenon of tourism came into existence, and how people started knowing the culture of other countries, and we started to have some understanding of people. In fact, I would say tourism helps us to understand another people, create a mutual understanding, and integrate peace amongst us. This course is being designed to make you understand the basics of tourism, the concepts of various technical terms of tourism, and to know how tourism has evolved from the early centuries till the recent century. This particular session will help you to understand the basic meaning of tourism. It will help you to differentiate between tourist and excursionists. The other learning objective of this session is to describe the concepts of tourism and to discuss the evolution of tourism. So, a basic foundation will be created through this session. When we start with the term tourism, it has been said that this particular word was coined from a Greek word which came from a Latin word torno or tornes. This particular word means a circle. Now, what is the relation between a circle and tourism? The word tornes, circle, states that when a person starts traveling from his origin place, he moves to various places and then he comes back to his origin place. So that is creating a circle. Hence, this tourism word was coined. As said by Matheson and Wall, the temporary movement of people to destinations outside their usual places of work and residence, and the activities undertaken during their stay in those destinations, and the facilities created to cater to their needs. So they have described the word tourism with a very important word, temporary movement. Temporary movement is the right principle to be used because a person going for a business purpose and making his livelihood for a permanent reason in any particular place will not be termed as tourism. It should be temporary movement. Say, for example, tourists visiting to another places to see the natural attractions, student going for education purposes, a person going for a medical purpose, a traveler going for a pilgrimage purpose, a person going for leisure activities, or meet their friends and relatives will be termed as tourism. Not a permanent stay in any destination would be considered as tourism. There is one more point which I would like to highlight under the word temporary. A tourism word is being accepted when a traveler goes to a place for more than 24 hours. Now, why 24 hours? Because the contribution of traveler to that destination economy should be for a stay, for an overnight stay. Then only it will result as to the business activity of tourism. What they have, this Matheson and Wall has defined that the using of the facilities, the activities undertaken at that place should be incorporated in tourism activity. The same thing is being elaborated in the next slide, which has been speaking about what does tourist mean. So here we can see a tourist is a person who travels at least 80 kilometers from his or her home for at least 24 hours. So this is very important because it is all related to the contribution to that destination through economy point of view, through generation of employment for the people residing at those attractions. So this is the reason one has to keep in mind whom to be called as a tourist. So for example, if I am visiting to a place which is just 25 kilometers from my place, I usually commute for my official activities, which is 25 to 30 kilometers, and I work and come back within 8 hours. That doesn't mean that I'm involved into tourism. So it should be more than 80 kilometers, and there should be number of hours of the person staying in that place should be for more than 24 hours, so that he's or she is using the facilities which is available in the attraction in the particular spot. The United Nations World Tourism Organization, the acronym of it is UNWTO, in 1995 has break down this definition in three distinguished points. That is, a tourist can be stated as a domestic tourist, inbound tourist, and outbound tourist. Let me explain. Domestic tourists are tourists who travel within their own country. So, if I am traveling from Karnataka to Kashmir, Karnataka to Mumbai, that is called as a domestic tourist. And in fact, it is also known as domestic tourism. Inbound tourist. Inbound tourist, that is non-residents traveling in a given country. So, if I get visitors from Australia or I get visitors from Canada, those people will be called as inbound tourists, and the process will be called as inbound tourism. Outbound tourists are a person going to another country. So, if I am visiting Australia, if I am visiting to Canada, I will be called as outbound tourist, and for them I will be inbound tourist, and I am in the process of outbound tourism. Now we will discuss in deep the concept of visitor. What does visitor means? Visitor is any person who is visiting a country other than in which she has usual place of residence for any other reason than following an occupation from within the country visited. Visitor may be further categorized as excursionist and tourist. So now we can see that visitor is a big concept. It's a big umbrella under which the two concepts of excursionist and tourist come. So any person traveling from her own place to another place, okay, for any reason. So as I said, the reason could be visiting friends or relatives, pilgrimage activity, education activity, medical purpose, leisure activity, adventure activity. But now the two things are, either I am going for more than 24 hours. If I am going for more than 24 hours, then I am a tourist. If I am going just for a say 12 hours activity or within a day activity, then I will be termed as an excursionist. The same thing has been explained. An excursionist is a day visitor who stays for less than 24 hours at a place. An example is also given. An excursionist going from Pune to Lonavala early in the morning and then returning late in the evening will be called as an excursionist. Tourist, a temporary visitor. So here the important point is we need to highlight this temporary word all the time, because it should not be a permanent stay. So a temporary visitor to a place which is at least 24 hours of stay. It could be for any purposes which I have stated earlier. The thing which I have already explained based on the types of tourists, that is domestic tourist, inbound tourist and outbound tourist, we will be describing the concept of tourism in the same way: domestic tourism, inbound tourism and outbound tourism. It's been found that many people especially students get confused with the word inbound and outbound. So I'll make it very easy. When we say inbound, means when you get visitors into your country. Okay, so that is called as inbound tourism. And when you have tourist or yourself, your countrymen going out of your country, it is called as outbound tourism. And domestic tourism, by the word itself, it is very easy. Moving within the periphery of your country to other states, to other places within your country. International tourism, so which is a form of, you can say it will involve both inbound and outbound concept. So where people traveling from one country to another, crossing the national borders, is known as international tourism. And the person who is involved in the movement is known as international tourists. Now guys, a traveler. This concept, a traveler is a person who travels from one place to another, irrespective of the purpose of travel, distance travel or duration of stay, will be known as a traveler. So here there is a basic thin line difference between a tourist and a traveler. A traveler can be any person who is traveling. Whether he is staying or not staying, whether it is for 24 hours or 80 kilometers, is not under the purview of the term traveler. Transit visitor. By the word itself, a person who passes a country. So we could hear from many people that they had a layoff plane, a connecting flight, where they were required to stay in the airport for 4 hours, couple of hours, or in the city for some duration to get connected to other mode of transportation. So that type of person will be known as a transit visitor. So you can see a traveler or a visitor who passes through a country without breaking journey other than for taking connecting transport. So this word connecting transport gives the meaning of transit visitor. What is hospitality? Hospitality is all about how we receive people, how we give them the services, and how we make them comfort in one place. So it involves the physiological and psychological comfort and security to the guests. So it's like, especially when we say hospitality is always related with the term guests. So it's all about providing the necessary services. It could be services of food, transportation, amenities, which are like giving them the pleasure, giving them the services which is required for a comfort stay in that particular place. So hotel services, guide services, entertainment services, your healthcare services, the transport services, all will be under hospitality sector. Destination. I guess I've used this word. Again, we'll describe in detail. Destination, as I said, the origin place would be a place where you start moving to a particular place. So, origin is a place from where you start moving to a particular place. So, that particular place is called as a destination. So, as I said, if I am going for an international tourism, if I move from my place to Canada, so Canada would be the destination. So, it could be a place where a person goes for, say, a natural attraction, or for a leisure activity, or for a business. Again, now here the point to be considered is business activity. It should not be a permanent stay. Business activity of, like, say, meetings, exhibition, conferences. So all this could be at a particular destination. So what this particular definition says, a destination is the place where tourists travel for leisure or business related activities, and it could be other purposes as well, like the pilgrimage, the education, the medical. It is a place where the tourist product is located and consumed. So all those things which I have said, like the hotel stay, the entertainment, guide activity, transport activity, the spiritual activity which has been involved in that particular place is consumed. Destinations can be spread over a wide geographical area, and it is the reason for tourism to exist. Without a destination, there would be no tourism. So that's rightly said. If we don't have a place to visit, if we don't have an attraction where a tourist can go and enjoy, tourism will not be into existence. And when we gradually discuss the evolution of tourism, we'll again understand how destination had played a vital role in tourism. The images and positive perception that people have of a destination draw tourists to the place. So that is very important. How a destination image is created. So there are stages of image development, which I will be uh, walking you through the concept of image development in the later sessions of this particular course. As we are discussing the concepts of tourism, we need to understand the major elements of tourism. So, the major element of tourism we can see here, one is destination, second is the attraction, so the attraction point at that particular place, transportation activities, okay, so transportation, the mode of thing which is involved, accommodation, the stay where a tourist will be staying, and then the other ancillary activities, so which is involved into like amenities or guide services, entertainment services. All this comes under ancillary services. So this is when we talk about in management concepts, a product which has the other components in its product. So tourism, the destination is a core product, but without these other components, the product is incomplete. So we'll understand in detail what are the elements which are involved in a destination. When we talk about a destination and the attraction, it is all about whether the destination is having a good weather, whether the destination is having a scenic beauty or a natural attraction, say for a hill station, a lake, a water body, beaches, and I said a good weather, sunny, warm places, and a family place with lots of activities, or it could be a man made attraction also, so like a fort, uh, a museum, a theme park, an entertainment zone, kids zone. So all these things will be a man-made attractions, and a destination without a good experience cannot be termed as a destination. So how the destinations create that experience for the tourist to get motivated to go and stay is very important. So when we talk about coastal areas, we know in India we have this Western Ghats as well as the eastern places which are near to the beaches, Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. So these places are, what to say, very towards the coastal areas, attracts people more. Especially when anybody talks about beach, Goa comes to one's mind. And then if anybody talks about international places, then Miami, Florida, these are the places which comes to some many people's mind. Cloudy, or when we say cold, then Switzerland. And in India, when we talk about Himachal Pradesh as a cold place. So how the image of a destination is created is because of these points, these elements, and the attractions which are there at that particular place. Accessibility, the another term to accessibility is the mode of transportations which are utilized to provide access to that particular place. Whether the place is easily accessible or not is very important for tourism. So if a place which is not having good access will not be utilized by the tourists. So when we talk about the northeastern part of India, the accessibility is a point, is an issue where it is not being what to say, considered by most of the tourists. But I would say, as a point of view, when sustainability point of view is factor to be considered, we should give tourists a experience of getting to that place on their own, crossing rivers or say the uneven paths, so that they can enjoy that adventure of the place. So that is also to some extent is required. The historical and cultural factors, the history behind a place is very important element in tourism. Many places are known for the history. So when we talk about in India itself, we are known for, since from the Mughal time, British time, the evolution which we had in these, say, from 15th century to 19th century. So that history plays an important role, and how the culture has evolved gradually. Same way, most of the countries have their vast history which is required to be experienced. So here it is mentioned places with historical events are Rome, Berlin, Lumbini. So these are the European places which are having their own pasts, and there are good monuments, good museums to visit and understand the history. The other thing which we need to talk about is, as I was talking about, a place having lesser accessibility will have lesser influx of tourists. Whereas a place, say for example, it's given here, Singapore is a big air traffic hub. In fact, it is one of the top 10 international destination which has maximum flow of international tourists, so foreign tourist arrivals. So that is the reason the accessibility plays an important role in tourism. Amenities. What are the facilities which are being provided in the destination or in the journey for the tourist to make them feel comfort is important. So facilities could be the shopping facilities, the guide services, the entertainment, any kind of a luxury product, say for example a spa activity. These things are considered as amenities. Food and beverage facilities is a part and element of tourism. Hospitality, which I have already explained in the earlier slide, it's what kind of facilities, what kind of comfort is given to a guest is termed as hospitality. It's like if a good services is given to a guest, a person feels a home away from home. So this is a thing which was all most of the time being said, especially for a hotel. So what type of hospitality services they provide so that a guest should feel a home away from home. Now, when we talk about in a destination, the hospitality by the local people, how they greet, how they welcome the tourist, that is also very important to have the influx of tourists to that particular destination. We will quickly go through this video. This video is all about evolution of tourism, how tourism emerged since from ancient era to the present after the industrial evolution. I will play this video and then we will discuss in detail. The credit of this video goes to Ocean Products, which is a UK-based company. we are trying to understand through this video how the necessity of moving from one place to another created various inventions of using horse as a medium to travel, wheel, then gradually the railways, which will be shown here. So necessity is the mother of invention. Since from Homo sapiens till the civilized society, we can see gradually the development of people. Leonardo da Vinci traveled from various places to other places to discover, to see the other part of the world. He is a known traveler. The first submarine we saw in the year 1620. So as I've said, how horses were used, and now the horse cart was utilized in the 16th century. 17th century, the clockwork carriage was used. So in the past, travelers was mostly for rich people, where they wanted their kids to understand, and that particular era is called as Grand Tour era, which I will be explaining in detail further. So the first invention and utilization of steam engine, steamboat, hot air balloon in 1783, and then came bicycle, the most eco-friendly mode of transport and healthier one. So this is locker machine, where the wheel and legs were utilized. So we can see there was argument between the inventors also, that British and the French, who has invented first. The first motorcycle in 1867, and then car movement came. So this is penny farthing bicycle. Another invention, 1871, cable car. First safety bicycle we can find in 1885, and then came Zeppelin. Zeppelin, which was used in the World War. In 1903, this is the biggest invention in travel industry by Wright brothers. They were the people who started with commercial usage of aeroplane and the invention of aeroplane. In 1929, the television, which helped people to understand the other nations. 1939, 1945, World War II happened, where there was you can say, big halt in travel activities, and the recession phase came, which was one of the dark era of tourism as well. Then in 1940s, helicopters were invented. So this helped a lot to the businessmen. 1945, the Land Rover. Many explorations happened after the Second World War. And the supersonic flights came into existence in 1947. 1967, flight taken to moon, the Apollo mission. And now we can soon talk about people going to space. Space tourism will come into existence. In 1970, the jumbo jet was invented. So lots of mass tourism started existing. 1981, space shuttle. And now we have Virgin Atlantic, Tesla's, Russian company working for space tourism. 212, more than 900 million people travel internationally. So this was a big achievement in tourism industry. As I spoke to you about Virgin Galactic, so Richard Branson is almost trying to plan his launch to 2020, which was failed initially. Still, he's trying his various test flights. And the recent news was that they could fly for a short distance, having two people in the space flight. So here comes a question that why people are traveling, why so many people travel today. And the answer to it is because of the inventions which has happened. We have modes of travel, we have good economy, we have good standard of living, and we know the importance of holidays, and we want to live our life happily with good leisure time. And many people, especially elderly people, are keeping their savings to travel. So higher standards of living is also an important part, the reason of why people are traveling more and more. Hence, tourism industry is shaping its own form. It's like becoming a known industry. And the other thing, the contributions to international tourism is the restrictions which has been reduced by most of the governments. We are getting e-visa facilities as well as on-the-place visa facilities. So here we spoke about the various inventions which happened since from the ancient time till the current period, and how it has made people to travel from places to places. So guys, as we have seen in the video, how this necessity to travel has created lots of invention, and because of the invention, people started traveling in masses from the Homo sapien time, just for the sake of shelter. People traveled from one place to another for safety, for food, and then business came into existence in the medieval period. People started colonizing. People started for the traveling for the reason of trade, military control. So the tourism started taking its shape since from our ancient period itself. And then there are various travelers who are known in the past who have traveled, which I will be explaining here also. So, in the historical development of tourism, when we talk about, we have the various periods of travel. One is called as the prehistoric period travel. The other is ancient travel. Third is the medieval and the empire era. And the last is the modern era of travel. So here, when we talk about the stages of travel development, we can see the prehistoric period travel, where the early man, he started traveling from 2 million to 20,000 years ago. So as I said, the Homo erectus, they travel from for the search of food, for their safety reasons, from animals, to escape from animals, enemies. And then they started colonizing, making their own territory and making their own society. So this involved lots of explorers. So all our ancestors whom we don't know, those who were Homo sapiens, are known as big explorers, great explorers. Then came the ancient time travel, which is noted in the history, where we can see that people was confined to travel in European, Middle East, North America, North Africa for the, say, religious activities or enslaving activities, or getting the power. So this is what was all about in the ancient time, in during the 3rd century. The Middle Ages and the Renaissance era, when we talk about in this, it was in 5th to 14th centuries. Because of the Renaissance era, we could see lots of trading activities being developed in the tourism industry, where we saw use of ship cruises and people traveling in groups during the Renaissance era. But one thing, in the Middle Ages, the travel was little dangerous because of the rule system of the various empires, their feudal system, and which created a sense of insecurity among people. So there was a little, the travel became little dangerous during that period. And then after that, in the Renaissance era, we saw a lot of transportations emerging, currencies, languages coming into existence. As I said, the contribution of Marco Polo's travel is being noted in the history, how he traveled from Middle East to China, and he has seen the various cultures and were noted in his book. Then we saw lots of movement of merchants for commercial basis, for commercial activities. The important era which is to be noted in tourism is the Grand Tour era, where the tourism for the sake of leisure, for the sake of making the wealthier people understand the culture of civilized society and to study about arts and science came into existence. It was in the Grand Tour era in 16th century, 1613 to 1785, where lots of travel happened, where this English Britishers, they wanted to make their kids aware about the other part of their European continent. So we could see, as I have earlier spoken, when we talk about tourism as a business product, we need to owe to Mr. Thomas Cook, who coined the concept of group travel, who was the first person to start with the railway commission based travel for group of people, and he developed various tour packages, and he was the person who started with a guidebook for people to know about places. Then came the Empire era, where we saw how Egyptians and the Greek, they came up. There was a rift, and then there was a fall of the Roman Empire, and it led to various kinds of enslaving activities. There was even good developments of governmental, commercial, educational, religious activities, where lots of cities and states were developed. So this is how it looked in Empire era. The basic mode of transportation you can see was to the ships. The factors which influenced people to travel during this was they had money. There was the currency acceptance was widely available. The languages amongst them. So basically, it was in the European continent. The travel was mostly to be observed. Then came the travel for business purposes, pleasure purposes, leisure activities, and then the involvement of various amenities was seen in the Empire era when he started with the services of rail services, which was a commission based tour for the European people in 1842, and he made a short trip from Lancaster to Borough. So this is how the travel business emerged because of Mr. Thomas Cook. Will explain in detail. Now, based on the contribution of the Greeks in the Empire era, we can see that majorly the Greek were the people who have written in the history their travel stages, how they traveled. Their main reason to travel was pleasure, and then they have gradually in the travel they have developed currencies, the communication. So the trading part started existing in Empire era. And the Romans, they also did a lot of development. They developed in the travel industry. They started making middle class to travel a lot, and lots of roads, transportation, communication systems, the rest house, the inns, villas came into existence because of the Romans. Then came the time which is called as the modern era time after 1945, where we can see people started traveling for mostly the business activities. And here we can see that it was which was shown in the video, it was because of the holiday, the paid vacation, the understanding of fun, leisure, and happy life. People started traveling more in industrial period. Also because of the business activity, the traveling boomed like anything. And the development of Boeing, Airbuses, jet planes has also contributed a lot. The other part when we talk about is this modern tourism, where in the video it also shown that how the private planes, that is the helicopters, jet planes, helped in people traveling for business purposes, as well as when we talk about the concept of space tourism, which is emerging. And the owner of Virgin Group, Mr. Richard Branson, wants to start with the business of space tourism. His 2020 goal is have faced a little failure, but he is still trying for the space tourism concept to be as a business to emerge in the market. So here we can see the various milestones, how the tourism has evolved. So in 4000 BC, the invention of money, so because of the trading purposes. 5th to 15th century, which is the Middle Age, as I said to you, which was a dark era of tourism because of the colonization, the enslaving activities. So there was a little insecurity among people to travel. Then came the Renaissance stage, where people started traveling more for business activities using steamships. There, so the same in 18th century, introduction of steamboat came. The first passenger train service came into 1830. Then Mr. Thomas Cook started with a special excursion train from Leicester to Loughborough in England, and gradually he introduced the hotel voucher, where a tourist can just produce the voucher to the hoteliers and stay, and he has to pay, the tourist has to pay the money to the travel agencies. So that's, he brought in the concept, the actual business of tourism. And he was the first to come up with the world trip, a well organized round the world trip, and it was started in 1872. Mr. Thomas Cook introduced a circular note, which is in 1873, for the tourism businesses to run their businesses seamlessly. So this was among the various agencies to do the transactions. And then we can see that the Carlton Hotel was started operating in 1888, and lots of opened up, big hotels opened up in the European continent. Then, as it was shown in the video, the Wright brothers, they invented airplane and the commercial flight from Kitty Hawk, which was in North Carolina. And then it was a big boom in the travel industry. The major hotel chain company was the Trust Houses. They opened a chain of hotels in Britain in 1903, and then in 1920 we could see that charter flight planes appeared in travel and tourism industry. In 1945, this big organization which contributes a lot in tourism industry, that is IATA, International Air Transport Association, was established, who started organizing the movement of air travel, looking into the factor of passenger safety and the airline's seamless operation. So the International Union of Official Travel Organization was constituted in 1947, which was the predecessor of World Tourism Organization, with the aim of widening the international travel organizations. Then in 1950 we saw commercial air transportation increase, and then lots of cheap air travel started happening, and people started utilizing air as their main mode of travel. In 1958, Boeing 707 was introduced, which was a big development. Then 1966, United Federation Travel Agents Association was founded, where the establishment of travel industry agencies came into existence. Another development in 1970, first wide-bodied Boeing 747, which has a lot of capacity of carrying 400 packs, was invented. And then 1975, World Tourism Organization, which is known as now United Nations World Tourism Organization, had its legal existence to help the tourism industry exist with proper cooperation of various bodies. So these are the references which are being utilized for session. I hope you would have understood the basics of the concept of tourism, the meaning of tourist, excursion, their differentiation, the meaning of inbound, outbound, and domestic, international tourism. We try to understand how inventions of travel came into existence and how people started traveling from the ancient era to the modern era. And we explored the various forms of invention and the various milestones in travel and tourism industry. Thank you. In the next session, we will try to understand about the concept of tourism as a product, the various A's which are involved in tourism, the primary and secondary components of tourism. Hope you liked the video. Thank you.